So Marvel, DC, all of these companies that produce shoddy products and treat customers like absolute trash, they just got owned and then some. And you know what I say to that? I say bravo. Bravo indeed. See, so while an industry lorded over by Marvel, DC, and other companies declines year over year, manga sales, they are obliterating all competition. I mean, if you look at those numbers here, really look at that. $5.5 billion in 2020 alone. That's billion with a B. A 23%, almost 1/4 positive earnings increase in just 1 year. Yeah, they are not only dominating the competition, they are absolutely destroying them. What's even funnier about this total ownage is it's worse than a Disney or an at&t will ever admit. And you and I, we're going to go in, we're going to look at numbers like this. These are Western numbers, by the way. You notice they're throwing in things like My Hero Academia. And the reality behind that is this. You have the best-selling comic books in the U.S. selling around 190,000 copies. Items like Demon Slayer, they sell 3.9 million. Man, you talk about getting owned. Oh, man, that's ownage and then some. Oh, man. So, hey there, to all you fine folks on this fine day. And if you would, before we get started, share this video far and wide. Feed that pesky algorithm, because it's hungry. Make sure you give it likes and comments. And also, if you subscribe to the channel, make sure you're still subscribed. And if you hadn't, well, no peer pressure, but look at that shiny button. I know you want to push it, don't you? Yeah, you do. So first things first, as far as the market that is lorded over by the Disneys, we're talking about Marvel, the at&ts, that would be DC and on. Looking at the numbers there, it's getting harder and harder to scan them objectively. Why? Because they'll add anything into those numbers to pad them. And even when they're doing that, well, look at the numbers here from 2018. You'll notice they were losing money year over year. The same thing happened with 2020. They're still losing money year over year. And you have to remember that those numbers, they are fueled by some of the most predatory practices that you have ever seen. If you look at the pricing points here, for example, $9.99, $7.99, $6.99 and on. Remembering shops, they're on the hook right now for around 50% of that, so you can't move a few of those. Well, you're going to be paying $5 a pop in some instances. And on top of the predatory pricing practices, well, look at the variant cover practices. Here, for example, Red Sonja, The Price of Blood, #1. Look at all of the covers. This is the same comic book. They cover the entire alphabet. What's more is that despite that predatory practice, things have gotten so bad for the Disneys and the at&ts that they can't stand on their own. You can see this in numbers like it's here. 2020 comic book sales to comic shops. These are provided by Diamond, by the way, who was until recently the only distributor in town. But you could see $117.78 million. See, if you really want to know how far those titans of industry have fallen because of ridiculous nonsense online, because of shoddy products, well, look at the comic book breakdown. 2020's graphic novel sales to comic book shops. These are 2 North American comic shops. These are trade paperback numbers by themselves. And when you look at it, well, it doesn't look bad yet, right? When you start looking for specific companies, though, like say a Viz, for example. This is not a Marvel. This is not a DC. Look at where they rank. Viz, number 18 in units, number 30, 31, 35, 51. See, when you really start examining the companies that mistreat their consumers, what you'll find out is this. North American comic book producers, they lose millions per quarter. This is 1 quarter with one company. You can see net loss attributable to them. They lost $6.3 million. That's in 1 quarter, 3 months. Meanwhile, on the other side of that spectrum, you have things like this, reported to you from bleedingfool.com. Definitely check them out, by the way. That's bleedingfool.com. I definitely like them. I like the people behind it. I like the people reporting on this. But they're telling you manga sales, they're dominating the market. They continue to dwarf Western comics. And these numbers that you're seeing, oh man, they are absolutely insane. I mean, this is a healthy market and then some. Remember the Western competition. This includes manga going to comic book shops. That's at $117.78 million. What you're seeing from manga, well, look at this here. Combined sales of print and digital manga surged beyond 600 billion yen. That's $5.5 billion. Yeah, billion with a B. In 2020, for the first time since records began in 1978. Now, those numbers they're not just increases. We're talking about market domination in a time we're hearing about how this stuff can't sell. Oh, yeah, it can. It can and then some. Quote, the 23% year-on-year increase to 612.6 billion yen surpassed the previous sales peak of 586.4 billion yen set in 1995, when Weekly Shonen Jump and other manga anthologies were at the pinnacle of their popularity. I mean, think about that. They are setting records that were established back in the 1990s when they were going absolutely crazy, hitting on all cylinders for not just this market, but for other markets as well. Now, to me, what's really fascinating about all of this stuff is we're hearing about how comic books, they are in dire disarray right now. You know, everything is falling apart for the beer bug, but when it comes to manga, we're not hearing that at all. In fact, if you look at the numbers that they've reached right now, the institute tracking this attributed the growth to stay-at-home lifestyles during the beer bug and the huge success of Demon Slayer, which also ran in Shonen Jump. Now, the digital market associated with this, they'll use the word comic, by the way, but they're not talking about the North American comic industry. They're talking about manga here. But the digital market for this, it grew 31.9%, 342 billion yen, up 82.7 billion yen from the previous year, and topped to 270.6 billion yen in combined sales of print, comics, and manga magazines. Still, notice this statement here. We're told this can't happen, by the way. Still, the print comic market turned upward for the first time in 19 years. So even the print comic editions actually turned upward for the first time, while again, the Western markets, they are falling apart at a phenomenal pace. Now, to give you an idea of this level of domination, I want to show you something. These are the best-selling books from 2020. You can see the best-selling one, Wolverine #1. It moved 196,441 copies. Now, like I was saying at the beginning of this, you take those numbers and you compare them to manga, and well, just behold this here. Manga books showed strong sales, particularly with Demon Slayer, whose 23rd volume was released with an initial print run. Again, initial print run of 3.95 million copies. Now, if you were to take that out, though, excluding Demon Slayer, print manga book market, it still increased 24.9% year on year. So you have a market in North America that is falling down. It has been having so many problems. It has to keep marking up prices and on. When you compare it to, say, manga, who again, year over year, is making money hand over fist, you tell me who's doing well, and you also tell me what's going wrong. Because I'll point to that North American market, and I'll tell you, customers, they're tired of being treated like garbage. They're tired of getting subpar products, and they're walking away. But what they're walking toward, yeah, you can see exactly what it is. But anyway, let me know what you think about this stuff. And as always, appreciate the heck out of you. You make this stuff work. No one else does, so thank you. And if you want to help the channel out, there are links in the description. We could always use your help. Check those out. But you being here, that matters too. So thank you. I appreciate you, and we will see you soon.